Okay, today we're going to work on edge beadwork. You often find it on a lot of different projects, whether it's rosettes or not. There's a lot of different ways to do edge beadwork, so I'm going to do it the most common one. I don't know any other way to call it, but it's just edge beadwork. But typically you have two beads down and one up. On this one I've got two separate colors, the white on the bottom and then the red up on top here. It's a transparent red that matches this beadwork. So it'll help us when you kind of see the steps itself. Material wise, what we're going to do to get started, I've got some beading. I got a beading needle. It's a size 12. I've put some Nymo already on thread, doubled over, size B. You want to double it over. You don't want just one thread going through there. It gives you a little bit extra strength. I've already waxed the thread, and I'm going to use size 11 beads. And what you're going to want to do initially to get things started is you're going to want to have your thread doubled over, waxed, and then tie a knot at the end so it doesn't pull out. You're going to put it up through your outside piece here where you want to get started. In this case it's a ribbon binding. Whether you're doing rosettes or something else, you know, it just depends on the material as to how you're going to do it. But I like to pull it so that a little bit of that knot's going to sit up underneath there. To get started, you start with 3, and so you take one from the bottom, one that's going to be on top, that's going to be our red bead, and then one on the bottom. Stitch is a very easy one. This is actually a really quick stitch to do. All you want to do really is just barely lance the top of the material that you want. Some people have said this is to protect the edge of the thread, the edge of your piece that you're doing, but it's not really. I think it's just decorative. But you're going through this one, the last one here, you went through your cloth and now you're coming back up through that bead. And that's what's going to cause that initial set. That's what sets this one up, the red one sits up, and that's what flattens down the white one. We're going to do another stitch here. Now this time you only take up 2. Take a red one for the middle, and then you want a white one for the down. And again, I'm going straight through the cloth, out the back, pulling it all the way through, and then coming up, back through just like that. And I'm going to do that all the way down. Now, there's going to be different ways you can do this. There's a lot of different styles of edge work. But all things considered, this is a very simple one. Most of the time in this kind of work you're going to find the edge work most commonly is just solid white. So that's where you can get kind of creative. You have different color combinations. I've seen where people do sections of one color and sections of another. There's really a lot of different possibilities when you sit down and look at it. You don't want to take too big a bite in. If you do real deep down here, you're going to see a lot more thread. You want it just right up here floating on the edge. You don't want it so deep that you're going to have a lot of that thread showing. And then the flip side of that is, if you do it too shallow, you're liable to pull the ribbon out, and you don't want that either. So don't tug on it too tight. You just want it nice and even. Space the beads out so that they're pretty much going to have just a little bit of a gap. You don't want, well, I guess it depends on what you're looking for, but you usually want these beads, the red ones, sitting up on top of these two as opposed to sitting in between them. So that's just kind of how you're going to do your spacing. Now, you're going to bead along and you're going to go until you get to a point where you have finished what you're doing. So here we're coming up to the very end of the piece and we're running out of thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie this off. I'm going to show you how to do that real quickly, and then I'm going to show you how to add another one. So whether you're at the end of the thread or at the end of the piece, either way you need to tie it off. Just like you've been doing, you take one red and one white, and you're going to go in through this just like you have been. Now, instead of coming up through the white one now like we have been, we're going to come to the back side of this and we're going to tie this off. And this is a real simple process. I just like to take 1 or 2 little loops here just enough that you're giving it a little bit of something to hold on to. On this last one, we're going to come up, and this is what's going to be our knot here. Just a simple overhand knot. I'm going to go through the loops here, and it'll kind of cinch up on itself. And just to make sure it doesn't come out or have any problems, I usually, in projects that involve ribbon, I usually just run the needle down a little bit inside and pull it through, and then I've got my scissors to snip that off. So that's how you would finish it. You know, again, depending on what you're doing, if you finish it with on a project, you can tie it off. This, obviously, we have more that we need to do, so we're going to add a new thread. So this is the last step here. Because we didn't come up back through this white one, this is what we're going to do now. I've already taken my thread, doubled it over in my needle, tied a knot at the end, it's waxed. I'm just going to run this up so that it's going to come out through this white one as best as I can. And then I'm going to pull this through all the way down. I'm already running out of the white one, so I'm right back to doing my beadwork. Back to one red and one white. And I'm going to just keep going this way, running the beadwork all the way to the very end. So it's a real simple process. Again, it's one of the fastest steps that I know. It's a decorative, it looks nice. You have a lot of opportunities for creativity. Again, there's a lot of different ways to do this style of, to do this edge work. Everybody's got different preferences and so on, but this is just something that you can do to dress up a piece. To me, it just looks more finished when it's got that little finishing touch on it. So with all of that said and done, we have learned how to begin, end, and add a thread so that our beadwork looks nice and clean. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for your time. I hope you enjoy it.